What happens if you are a creator, you've been into art, but you've done it in the traditional sense, and then there's all this buzz about NFTs, and you are thinking, I need to integrate into there. Today's guest, DKleine, is going to help us think through that process, and here we go.
Hey y'all, what is going on? My name is Heather Parady, and I'm here with my incredible friend and co-host, Rich. We have gotten so many emails, Rich, from creatives who were like, how do I get into this game? And we're like, we don't know. Let's get somebody who knows the answers to this. And that's who we have today with us. DKleine, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us and shine some light on this topic.
My pleasure. Happy to be here. It's so cool.
Look, man, here's the deal. What people don't know, what I know, is that you know everything that we don't. Like, you are deep. You are deep in the trenches with this. You are a creative. You've been creating. You've been selling. You've been on OpenC. You're on Twitter. You're in the Discords. But there's a lot of people who are just as creative as you, but just not digitally. And they are gonna get a swift kick in the ass once they realize what's going on. And I don't want that for them, right? Like, I want them to be able to explore. So, like, first, thank you for everything. Second, how do those people even begin to fathom like transferring that real life creativity into this virtual creativity that is making people lots of money?
For me, it was exploring the curated platforms first. That's how I first really got enamored with it. I remember just spending hours just scrolling through it and looking at awesome stuff. I was an art teacher, but in terms of selling art, I didn't actually sell any art ever, really. I just taught art. When I got into it, I was drawing on my phone, just fiddling on this, okay? And at that time, Rarible was the place to start. And Rarible is great because anyone can start there, right? So it doesn't matter who you are as a creator, you can begin there. If I were to do it now, as if I was a traditional artist entering the space now, personally, I would start with OpenC. The reason being, you can create a storefront there for a reasonable cost. It's under $100, I believe. And then you pay for your first mint. It's on the Ethereum blockchain. So you'd have to set up what's called a MetaMask wallet. You're going to need a few $100s to start with on there. And you mint your first piece on OpenC. Following that, you can mint with that contract multiple pieces. So that's probably the easiest way to get started, because if you're a traditional artist entering this space, maybe you want to start with works that you've already created physically and now you're doing like a digital scan of them, for example. And you might get a collection going on there of, say, 10, maybe a dozen pieces, so people can see your style. But just as importantly as starting a store is getting connected to the community. In fact, that's probably more important. I don't know if I'd be in a big rush to start a store until I had some connections in the community with Twitter, with Instagram, with podcasts. I am a writer for Cointelegraph as well, and I have been a writer for Cointelegraph. So that was a huge connection for me. Not everybody's going to necessarily have that connection, but reality is if you're a traditional artist, you're known in that world already. But if you're coming into this world, it's an entirely different audience. And so you might be someone who's well known in the one realm, and then you come here and it's like, who are you? Because like you mentioned, Rich, there are lots of people that are very, very, very talented, fantastic artists. But if you don't have that connection where people know you somehow, it's hard to motivate people to want to buy your art then.
We had an email the other day. Someone says, I listen to NFT podcasts, but I always get confused because there's these terms thrown around and I never know what they mean. And you just said, get it minted. Can you just briefly explain what you mean by that?
Sure. So let's say you're a traditional artist and you've created a physical painting, and you scan that digitally. Once you've got that MetaMask wallet and you've got some Ether from Ethereum, the currency, what you're going to do is you're going to upload I use PNGs usually because the picture quality is a little better. You're going to upload that PNG. I think the file size limit on OpenC is under 100 megabytes. So plenty, really. I mean, that's a lot for most PNGs. And what you're doing is you're uploading this image file and it's getting uploaded to IPFS, which is the Interplanetary File System. Usually that's how they're stored. Basically, it's stored on the internet. But when you mint it, you're basically signing that artwork digitally with your wallet. So your wallet is your identity. So if you look at my work on Known Origin, OpenC, Rarible, it's all under that same address, which is attached to me, and no one else can sign from that address. So basically minting it is signing that upload and proving that you're the one who's uploaded it to OpenC, and anyone can then check that address and go, oh, that's so-and-so's digital signature. attached to that artwork.
That's the best explanation we've
Isn't
heard
it?
by far.
Okay.
Thank you. You said you mint on OpenC, but if I minted on OpenC, does that mean it's not minted on another marketplace?
It's minted on the Ethereum blockchain.
Got it.
OpenC
Okay.
is basically a graphic user interface that allows you to see the artwork. You could see it on other platforms. OpenC is like an aggregator.
Sure.
OpenC is basically taking artwork from anywhere that's minted on the Ethereum blockchain, and it's called OpenC because they're all there. Like it's right. So if I go to known origin, where it's curated, I have art on known origin. It will show up on OpenC because I've minted it with my Ethereum wallet.
Yep.
I wanted to ask one follow up to everything you were saying before. What made you say, you know what? Like, I haven't sold any of this. I have a good chance to do it online. Like, how did that even become a thought in your head?
The way, like I mentioned, looking at platforms like Super Rare and Known Origin, you can't help but be inspired when you look at that artwork. To me, like what happened with my personal experience was that I was assigned to write a story about an artist named Rob Ness, who's a very prolific and successful artist. After having a conversation with him, that's when I explored Super Rare. And that's when I was like, holy shit, I got to do this. Like, this is so cool. Right. But I had no idea how to do it. So what I did, my first step in was collaboration. And that's another really, really useful approach. If you are intimidated by it, look at artists you admire and send them a direct message and say, I love your work. Would you like to collaborate? You'd be surprised. Say you're a traditional artist. If you were to show them, this is my art. How many artists would say, yeah, let's do it. Sure. I'll help you mint. Right? So my very first mint was a collaboration with Rob Ness. I didn't even make any art for it because I'm also a writer. I was like, can I write a poem and you create a visual and we'll sell it as a collaboration?
That's
so
cool.
little poem.
Dope. That's so
He made a
creative.
video. It's still my pinned tweet. It's still my pinned tweet after all this time. But I was so proud of that connection. And basically he minted it and then we just split the proceeds half and half.
Now, when was this? Was this like recent? How long have you been in the game?
I've been actually minting my own work for more than a year and a few months now.
Was the landscape similar? I mean, has it just massively grown just this year, or is that just my own perception?
It was not nearly as saturated. It was much easier to have your presence become known at that time. I'm an addictive personality. I'll admit that. Like, I was creating art non-stop, like daily for hours. I was doing it. Basically, I got home from my teaching and I would just draw stuff until I went to bed. Basically.
NFT World is super crazy and interesting. Like, if someone's first impression of the NFT world, who's a traditional artist, is CryptoPunks, and they're like, what the hell is that? How is that worth that much? What is this zombie thing? What are these fish? Or what are these Bored Ape Yacht Club things? And they feel that the kind of art that they have might not belong on a place that's so kind of forward oriented. What would you tell them?
I think we tend to project our own view of our art as what art is. And in reality, it's much broader than any individual's creative expression. And it goes back to, like I was saying about the artist Rob Ness and that story I wrote. The whole point of that story was what constitutes art, and it went back to Marcel Duchamp taking a urinal and turning it around and calling it a fountain and signing it and saying, this is art, and point being, art is whatever you decide art is. And the other thing about it for me as a creator is when I create something and I like it, chances are statistically someone else there probably will think it's cool too, right?
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the crypto art, is the market is so huge.
Yeah.
It's not like a traditional art scene where maybe you set up somewhere downtown somewhere at some trendy art scene and, maybe a few hundred people, if it's a good day, a few hundred people walk by and see your art. Like, statistically, what's the chance of finding someone who's going to be like, wow, I love that piece, right? I mean, here you're open to the entire world. And we're still a very small market. Like, what percent of people even hold a crypto wallet of any sort? Less than 1%, right?
Yes.
How many of those people are into NFTs? 5%, maybe? Like, you're talking such a tiny fraction. We have no idea how big this is going to get.
And that's why, you said earlier too, how saturated it's been over this past year. It's interesting because it is, but it's also still, there's such a huge opportunity here. And I think coming in as a creative and an artist, when you start talking about, like building community and collaborations and stuff, and just overcoming the tech piece of like, okay, I've got to go to this website and make this wallet, and what does minting mean and all of that. And then thinking about now too, you need to learn community building. And maybe that's not a skill set that you've had as a creative person. Are those really just the only two elements we need to be considering, is just the tech piece of getting our art actually on there and then be focused on building community after that? Or what other missing pieces are there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I prioritize community over the tech part, because the thing is, if you have the soft skills, you can learn the other skills. If you have the social skills and the social networking, you can reach out to another artist and say, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Can you help me? And someone will help you, right?
That's true.
You know, I had someone on Instagram the other day, phenomenal musician. I'm not going to say her name, just 17 years old though. And she was asking, how do I get into NFTs, right? I couldn't believe her. But I knew a number of other people. I'm like, well, you could speak to this person who's, you know, a musician in NFTs. And so I connected her with those people, right? That's what you need.
Is there something that you would advise creators to do sooner than later as far as building their community? Community is a skill set, something that you have to learn how to do. And, you know, Gary's talked a lot about that's going to be the next thing, is people who are really good at building community. And I think there's confusion on how to do that with like retweet for this and like for this and all this stuff and like spamming people. So can you create some context around what are the action steps to actually building a real community for your art?
I think a big part of it is recognizing other great artists and promoting them.
Ooh, boy.
Which seems maybe counterintuitive. But when I see cool art, I say, whoa, that's awesome. And I tweet that out. And then those people go, oh, thanks. And then they'll talk to you. And I'm not saying that to be manipulative. What I'm saying is when you're building up the people around you, it's going to benefit you anyway.
That takes security,
right?
Though. A lot of people are super like, you know, the scarcity thing of like, there's only so much on the table, right?
I don't know if I believe that applies to this market.
Really? That's encouraging.
I don't know if it does. I mean, in terms of the scarcity of your artwork, yes, I feel like it's one of those rising tide lifts all boats kind of concepts. I don't know about you, but when I see people in Twitter going, hey, look at my stuff, look at my stuff, look at my stuff, in everybody else's threads, is it appealing to you?
No, never.
It's not appealing to me.
I got a question about pricing. How do you price? Like, how do you know? Like, I didn't think twice about buying yours, and I'm not saying it was cheap, and I'm not saying it was overpriced, and I was happy to pay over either. I didn't know. I was just like, I really want to support D, so like, here we go, and I'm glad. But like, what would you tell people how to test? Because this is a different freaking world.
It's tricky, especially now that gas fees are so high. It's
dude.
Tough.
I tried to buy real quick. I tried to buy $83 Happy Land gummy bear, Heather, and the gas was $2.71 just now. I'm like,
if you're beginning, you can't expect people to buy this stuff for hundreds of dollars. Realistically, you're going to want to be priced in probably like 0.01 ETH, and it is tricky right now with the gas fees being where they are. Another thing you could do is you could explore platforms like Tezos, where you use a platform that's called Hic et Nunc. People call it HEN. It's Latin for here and now. Tezos blockchain, minting on Tezos is very, very, very cheap. The Tezos blockchain is a really great place to begin. Another one that I work with is the Koi network. They use the Arweave blockchain. The interesting thing with Koi is that their platform is attention-based, okay? Meaning those zombies that I make, if you own one and people look at it, you earn attention tokens. So they're not mined. The tokens are rewarded for attention.
Which is so great for you as the creator.
yes,
Absolutely.
come on.
They're getting rewarded
Right?
to market for you.
100%.
I love it.
DKleine, where can people connect with you online and check out your awesome work?
Well, the tricky thing of connecting with me is you got to get my name right, is @_ DKleine. So that's the easiest place to find me, because from there you can go to my link tree and find everything that I'm doing.
Heather, where can they find us?
You can find us on most social media platforms at NFTs #4 Newbies, also at Gmail. If you have any questions, comments, we'll do our very best to get back with you. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Take care.